Southgate College Opera have come up with a classy seasonal alternative to pantomime in the form of a musical version of the Charles Dickens novel A Christmas Carol. The famous tale of the miser Scrooge is billed as a superb pantomime with humour, pathos and, of course, a happy ending. But rest assured, it stays faithful to the plot of Dickens' novel. The show comes from the pens of opera company musical director Terry Hawes and his writing colleague John Dervish. It features a cast of 50, a full orchestra and a host of tuneful songs and lively dance routines. Victorian sets designed by producer Dora Barsham will be enhanced by supernatural effects created with help of lighting designer Alan Leggett. The show opens on Tuesday and runs until September the 10th. Until Saturday, December the 10th. Tickets are priced between £6 and £7 and can be obtained from Scott's, the travel agents, number 3 the Broadway Southgate, or from the company box office 292-9178.
A scheme to move giant removal firm Pickford's to a new headquarters at the former Belling Cooker factory site has moved a step forward. Property firm Kings Park Developments has bought the site in Southbury Road from Belling receivers KPMG Pete Marwick. Kings Park will knock down the factory and build a new high-tech office and warehouse complex. Pickford's has agreed to take a 15-year lease on the complex at £1,128,750 a year. The buildings are due for completion in October next year. A second part of Pickford's relocation involves redevelopment of its existing site on the Great Cambridge Road. That element is currently stalled over road plans. Developers want a new junction on the A10, but the Ministry of Transport and Enfield Council say that would cause chaos on an already congested stretch.
Okay. It was a red and white letter day in Briggs Sports in Enfield Town on Thursday, as Arsenal and England goalkeeper David Seaman leapt in for a visit. David spent a few hours signing autographs on a host of Gunners souvenirs and meeting some star-struck fans. Among them was 8-year-old future goalkeeping star Mark Hind from Northfield Road, Cheshunt, who got a few chips from his hero.
The Socialist Workers' Party are being blamed for sabotaging Saturday's demonstration in Enfield Town against the possible closure of Chase Farm Hospital's casualty unit. Political activists took the emphasis away from local people and turned the event into their personal rally, according to some witnesses. The march was attended by a number of Labour councillors, including leader Jeff Rodin and Lord Ted Graham. Maverick Tory councillor Peter Perryman said, "Jeff Rodin made a very good speech, and I would totally disassociate with him and the other councillors from the SWP. Unfortunately, the Have Banner Will Travel Brigade scared a lot of middle-aged and well-intentioned people into staying away." The number of protesters was slightly disappointing for the organisers, with the police estimating the crowd at about 180 people, all acting peacefully with no arrests. Organiser Keith Fletz from the Haringey and Enfield Trade Council said he felt the event was a success and was encouraged by the presence of a number of student nurses with their own banners. He is hoping to arrange a further protest after Christmas, possibly with a candlelight vigil in January at the hospital itself.
The appalling state of food being served to patients in Chase Farm Hospital has been confirmed in a report from the Enfield Community Health Council over a month after the Gazette exclusively first revealed the problem. The hospital's Director of Operations, James Scott, told the Gazette back in October that they were looking to spend £350,000 to improve the service. Last week he was still promising that figure would be spent. He said, "We know the food's bad, but we are doing something about it." The report from the council, which acts as a patient's watchdog, said the food can be unpalatable, inedible for the elderly, too meagre for the otherwise physically healthy, and that some patients supplemented their food with takeaways. Gardner Merchant, the caterers responsible for the contract, agreed that greater investment was needed.
A raider who tried to rob the Elf garage in Lancaster Road was foiled by a cashier who managed to close the till tight. The robber entered the garage shop at 7:15 on Saturday and gave the cashier £1 for a bar of chocolate. When the till opened, he pounced, but was outwitted and ran away. The crook is described as black, 5 feet 9 inches tall, in his early 20s, wearing a white jacket and a brown cap.
Staff from the branch of Men's Outfitters, Dunn & Co. in Enfield town, gave shoppers a smarter way to donate money to children in need on Friday, as they collected in the street after donning top hat and tails. 25-year-old manager Peter Jukes looked dapper indeed as he sold the Dunn & Company catalogue for £1, all of which went entirely to the charity.
A woman had her handbag snatched in Town Road, Edmonton, last Monday morning. The 69-year-old woman was walking towards Edmonton Green Shopping Centre at 11 a.m. when a man in his 20s ran up behind her and grabbed the bag from her hand as she approached Maggie's shop opposite Seymour Road. He crossed into Seymour Road and jumped into the passenger seat of a waiting blue car which sped off.
A manhunt has begun after a gruesome killing in the early hours of Saturday. The body of William Brooks, known as Billy, from Dunholm Road, Edmonton, was found on the pavement in Park Lane, close to the entrance of Pims Park at 12:30 a.m. Police and an ambulance were called, but a police doctor pronounced Mr. Brooks dead at the scene. A post-mortem held just 12 hours later determined the cause of death as stab wounds to the heart. The police believe the killer could well have been known to Mr. Brooks. Chief Inspector Bob Barker from Edmonton said, "Anyone who can help us should contact the incident room here and ask for Detective Inspector Paul Loudon." And an unofficial source told the Gazette that Billy had been involved in a brief argument in a local pub earlier that night. The source believed that Billy had been followed from the pub. Mr. Brooks, 38, worked as a driver. He was divorced and looked after 2 young children. Witnesses can phone Edmonton Police on 081 807 3030.
Enfield Mayor Rita Smythe was at Raynham Primary School in Raynham Avenue, Edmonton last week, helping the children to plant a cherry tree. The school's project has slowly provided grass, trees and flowers on the former Tatty concrete site, and the cherry tree was paid for by a grant from the National Tree Council and British Gas Eastern.
Some sport, just the headlines. Turnford Netball Club won the Under-12 Jersey Challenge Tournament, and Julie Bassett was named Player of the Tournament. A perfect performance from the girls earned them a large shield, medals and a small teddy bear. Saracens young rugby stars enjoyed a successful weekend, winning all but 2 of the games in a round-robin with Braintree and Barking. Enfield Griffin Swimming Club have continued their recent success story by winning the Perpetual Junior Trophy at Haverhill near Colchester last weekend. Saracens, that's the big boys this time, Saracens and First Division side Bristol put on an entertaining display for an enthusiastic crowd at Bramley Road on Saturday. The visitors ran out 18-12. Winners, but both sides were depleted by injury and divisional call-ups. So the final score was Saracens 12, Bristol 18. Cockfosters never recovered from conceding 3 goals in the first 20 minutes at Tower Hamlets on Saturday, with average defending largely to blame. Average is not the name of the defender, but they said the defence was average. Tower Hamlets 3, Cockfosters 0. Hoddesdon Town eased the pressure on their perilous league position with a well-earned 1-0 victory over near neighbours Welwyn Garden City on Saturday. Welwyn Garden City 0, Hoddesdon Town 1. Enfield manager George Borg was expelled from the dugout by the... Sorry about that. I'll start again. Enfield manager George Borg was expelled from the dugout by the match official on Saturday after he disputed a decision during the E's 2-1 win over Sutton United. The victory revives Enfield's faltering promotion challenge, now putting them 8 points behind leader Slough, and puts the team in a good frame of mind for Saturday's FA Cup showdown with Torquay United. Torquay United, sorry. Potters Bar Synchronised Swimming Club swept the board at the Herts County Age Group competition at the Fursfield Centre last Saturday. The club was competing against two other Hertfordshire teams, Aquilina from Stevenage and Lee Valley Cygnets, and the event was the culmination of a 6-month training effort. The Potters Bar-based Greenbelt Motor Club had just one finisher out of its 4 entries in the Network Q RAC Rally, despite good opening runs on the first day of the event. Richard Archer and Brian Cammack finished 85th in their Vauxhall Astra GSI, and they secured 8th place for showroom condition 1600cc to 2000cc cars.
A desire to introduce children to art is behind Sainsbury's decision to denote reproductions of works in British art collections to primary schools. Each school has 4 different pictures to display. Honeylands Primary School in Lovell Road was chosen as one of the lucky schools by the A10 store. The 4 pictures are William Brooke, 10th Baron Cobham and his family, in 1567, attributed to the master of the Countess of Warwick. A 17th century Dutch painting, Still Life with Silver Flagon by Abraham Bayeren, Cézanne's Le Lac d'Annecy, 1896, and Train Landscape by Eric Ravilus, 1940.
A pair of knifemen escaped with more than £1,000 when they held up 2 men who were transferring the takings from an Edmonton working men's club to a bank. The robbery took place in Oswald Place, Lower Edmonton, last Monday. It bore many resemblances to an incident reported in last week's Gazette when a security guard was attacked outside a day centre for the elderly in Palmer's Green. The 2 victims, both local and aged 59 and 48, were going to the bank together at 11:40 in the morning and were held up as they went to a car. The money was handed over and the knifemen ran off, possibly to a waiting white Sierra. The first crook was white, aged between 20 and 30, carrying a long black-handled knife and wearing a white crash helmet with a black visor. The second man was white, in his early 30s, 5 foot 10 inches tall and stockily built. He wore a white balaclava with yellow and green stripes and carried a 6-inch knife. Chief Inspector Bob Barker from Edmonton Police said, "Anyone who saw this incident is urged to contact this station on 081 807 3030.
Well, that's it for this week. So it's goodbye from
Joyce
And Marjorie.
Richard on controls and me, Tony. Goodbye.
Goodbye now.
Bye.
Bye.